State. The Red Hawk women dropped a 62-59 decision. 22 turnovers did in Southeast, who was outscored 24-14 in points off turnovers. The Red Hawks sit in a tie for 5th place in the OVC and will host Tennessee Tech on Thursday. The Red Hawk men were beaten at Tennessee State 79-50. Southeast will also host Tennessee Tech Thursday. Tip time set for 7:45.
Get local sports updates on SEMO ESPN 1220, SEMOESPN.com, and the SEMO ESPN app.
Does having a game on the TV make a sports bar? Wings, Etc. in Cape and Jackson beg to differ.
They take their sports bar status seriously.
Wings, Etc. is the host of the SEMO Coaches Show every Monday from noon to 1.
You can watch SEMO away games at Wings, Etc.
Plus, get lunch specials and daily specials like 69-cent wings on Monday, 69-cent rib tips on Tuesday,
59-cent shrimp on Wednesday,
69-cent wings on Thursday and Friday, too.
Plus, they've got free Wi-Fi and a full-service bar and craft beer.
Wings, Etc.
The definition of a sports bar.
Sadie Madness is coming March 23rd. Are you in? Come help Sadie shoot for their goal and have a great time doing it. It's the Sadie Madness for a Cause silent auction and dance benefit. The date is Saturday, March 23rd at Ray's Plaza Banquet Center. Tickets are just $20 and a meal will be served with music provided by Juicebox Entertainment and a cash bar. Doors open at 6. Auction ends at 9 and dance ends at 11. Win a prize in the basketball shootout. Sadie is a not-for-profit organization committed to providing programs and services to the elderly, persons with disabilities, and children with special needs in our community. Join Sadie Madness for a Cause on March 23rd. 100% of all proceeds will stay local in the Southeast Missouri area. So let the madness begin.
SEMO Alliance for Disability Independence.
The Missouri Army National Guard can help you get the education you need to land the career you've always wanted. The Guard will pay up to 100% of your tuition for up to 39 credit hours per academic year at 90 colleges and tech schools across the state. You're eligible as soon as you enlist. Learn more about the many benefits that come with serving part-time in the Missouri Army National Guard. Visit nationalguard.com today. Sponsored by the Missouri Army National Guard. Aired by the Missouri Broadcasters Association and this station.
And now, your ESPN Radio Network local weather forecast.
Visibility may be an issue early on with the fog. Careful on the roads. Mostly sunny otherwise. Warm by about 20 degrees. We hit the mid-60s. Clouds build in tonight. Some fog, patchy drizzle, and maybe a stray shower. Overnight low to mid-50s. Early fog for Monday. We'll see clouds and occasional showers. Afternoon high 65 degrees. From the Weather Channel, I'm meteorologist Jeff Eno.
You're up to date with the latest weather forecast right here on the ESPN Radio Network.
Let's talk about the defense, and you know what I'm saying?
This is Mike Greenberg for the best in local sports talk and play-by-play. It's SEMO ESPN.
This is a proud presentation of Mississippi River Radio Sports, the sports authority. Live in the studio. It's time for the Red Hawks Coaches Show. Live from Wings, Etc. Hear the Coaches Show each week on SEMO ESPN 1220 and 1470. And also at SEMOESPN.com and the SEMO ESPN app. Also watch the Red Hawks Coaches Show webcast live at SEMOESPN.com. Now, let's go live to Wings, Etc. for the Red Hawks Coaches Show.
Welcome in another edition of the Red Hawks Coaches Show from Wings, Etc. We are in the Cape Girardeau Wings, Etc. location, and we certainly invite you to join us for lunch. Kind of a dreary day. Come on inside. It's never dreary inside Wings, Etc. Good food, great times. Their award-winning jumbo wings are popular for both dine-in and carry-out. We would prefer that you join us for lunch, but if you're on the run and you need to get your order to go, they'll have it packed up and ready for you. And their menu includes much more than just their award-winning jumbo wings, which, by the way, on Mondays are just 69 cents. They have a full menu featuring their freshly made burgers, and they've got a lot of different burgers if you're familiar with the Wings, Etc. menu. They have wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads, smoked ribs, and much more. If you're interested in their appetizer lineup, it includes their ultimate nachos and their deep-fried pickle spears, and their daily half-pound lunch specials start at just $6.99. Wings, Etc. in both Cape and Jackson. We're in Cape this week and next week. Good food, great times. And this reminder, We are 11 days away from the SEMO baseball team playing its first game at Kappahoff Field against Western Michigan. So how about that? The baseball team getting ready to go. I think the softball team opens this weekend. So spring sports about ready to go. We're right in the thick of the Ohio Valley Conference basketball race. And, of course, the big news was what happened on the football field in Atlanta, Georgia yesterday. The Red Hawks basketball coach is here. Rick Ray, you are a big football fan. What was your Super Bowl experience yesterday? Were you at a party? Did you do it at the Ray compound? Where did it take place?
I was out recruiting, actually. So
yeah, you've logged a lot of miles here the last week or so.
Yeah, I was out recruiting. Went to go see a tournament, a prep school tournament. That was actually in Mayfield, Kentucky, so the drive wasn't too bad at all. But
that's about 90 minutes to Mayfield?
Yes, yeah, not bad at all. So, but I've been out in Mississippi and some other places here, and it's always hard because we have practice in the morning. So what I usually –
What time?
7 o'clock in the morning.
7.
So what I usually end up doing is driving, going to go see somebody play, and obviously I can't control what time they play, so they play either at 7 or 8, 7:30 around there. I get done with the game, get a chance to converse with a young man and a coach, hop in the car, and then it's usually about a 6-hour drive or 5-hour, 4-hour drive back, so I'll get back somewhere around 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we have practice at 7 o'clock in the morning, then get up, rinse, and repeat. So it gets a little tiring, but obviously it's necessary in order for us to go out and get some good players. So I actually DVR'd the game, and it's kind of funny because you can't stay away from the results.
No, it's impossible.
Yes,
unless you're off social media, you turn your phone off, and you don't turn the radio on.
Yeah, it's impossible. And obviously, with me out being recruiting, I need to know some things from my assistants or hear that. So yeah, I keep my phone locked in. But I get back, and I'm actually talking to my boys on the way back, and they got a chance to watch the first half of it, and they were rooting for the Patriots. They wanted the Patriots to win. So they got a chance to watch that first half of it, and then the first thing they want to know when they get up in the morning is one of them wants to know who wins, the other one doesn't want to know. Well, I know if I tell the younger one who won, he's going to tell the older one, so it's impossible to get away with that, so I don't tell them anything, and they can DVR when they got back. But, watching that game, it's amazing how everybody wants to be associated with McVay. All the hiring processes. There was actually even a release when Cliff Kingsbury got hired that, he was friends with Sean McVay. And it's like, what does that have to do with him being able to coach the Arizona Cardinals unless he actually worked with him? But you got a chance to see the master, kind of take him to school there as far as, like, the game plan. It was really magnificent.
And McVay says after the game, I was out. He said it like 3 times.
Yeah, but, I mean – for McVay to say that to me is like immaterial because my expectations going into the game that Belichick is the best coach to ever coach in the NFL, so of course you're going to get out-coached. I mean, that's not like new information.
And he's got 2 weeks to prepare for you.
Yes, but I just thought what they did on the offensive end, obviously what they did on the defensive end with that explosive offense that they have, they just really held them in bay. And one thing that everybody talked about the whole time is like the defense being something that everybody was really concerned about with the Patriots and to put in that type of performance. But I also want to point this out. I think it also goes to show like how good Patrick Mahomes must be.
Yes.
I mean, so you got all these offensive geniuses and things like that the Patriots have and all these weapons and good players that they have. And so the adjustments that Patrick Mahomes made in the second half, or Andy Reid, or however you want to credit, right? The Eric Bieniemy, I don't know if he's really the offensive coordinator. I think it's really Andy Reid. But the way they went out and executed and scored points against the Patriots both times, I mean, really speaks volumes about how good they must be offensively. But I just thought it was a brilliant game plan, the way they put things together. Wasn't the most exciting Super Bowl, but it just, if you appreciate the coaching and the X's and O's, it really was.
And you could tell from the very beginning that it just looked like Jared Goff was a little rattled. He missed an easy throw early. There was a lot of pressure. And I think, quite honestly, I mean, and there are a lot of people that thought, okay, I think the Patriots are going to play man defense here in this game and have a lot of one-on-one matchups, which might help Jared Goff with the play action. all he saw for the most part was zone, and they really pressured him, and I thought he looked a little confused a lot of the game.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple things that you can always count on, and me being a Chiefs fan, I was really appreciative and happy to see Marcus Peters get burned a couple times there. So you can always count on him making a mistake, a big mistake in the game, and that was huge. That play he had against Edelman when he didn't get a chance to chip him at the line, and kind of broke loose and got a big one there on that. But the other part of it too that I thought it was kind of fascinating was the way that Tony Romo talked about Goff wasn't willing to step up into the pocket against the inside pass rush and take that hit and still release it, whereas Tom Brady knew that Aaron Donald and those guys were coming. He was willing to stay in that pocket there, and it really wasn't pressure. He says, like, I think that Goff is hearing footsteps when they're really not footsteps there. He just needs to go ahead and stand in that pocket and then release the ball.
See, when I used to root for the Rams, when they were our team in St. Louis, greatest show on turf days, that's the thing that Kurt Warner would do. He would step up and take the hit because March ran those 20-yard dig routes with Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce. 20-yard dig routes, you got to be in the pocket for a while, and Kurt Warner would stand in that pocket and wait, and he would take the hit. In fact, injuries are what got him out of St. Louis because he took so many hits. But, yes, I thought that was a big, big key. And how surprised are you how good Tony Romo is to come from the field into the booth? It's not an easy transition. Not a lot of guys are really that good when they come right out of, right off the field to try and be a broadcaster. And he's on the #1 broadcast team for CBS.
Yeah, and I think what Tony Romo is doing is an anomaly, how successful he is at it. And I think it's also kind of unjust because you have Jason Witten stepping into the Monday Night Football booth, and he struggled at times.
He struggled a lot. Yeah.
And that's the way it should be, though. I mean, the way Jason Witten is going as far as like stepping into the booth, that's the expectations. He should struggle. I mean, stepping into the Monday Night Football, whereas Tony Romo and what he's doing and this like easy transition that he's had is really not the way it should be. So I think what people look at is like they look at Tony Romo and how good he's done, good of a job he's done, and what Jason Witten has done. That's the way Jason Witten is doing. I also want to be safe to Jared Goff. I mean, the way he played in the Super Bowl and his inability to step up into the pocket, probably the way it should be. I mean, he's a young player. Sure. It's his first Super Bowl, and the way Tom Brady did is probably the way it should be because it's his 9th Super Bowl. So, that comparison, when you get into a game like that, really like speaks volumes about like the veteran leadership that you have and those guys being exposed to it.
I don't know what your thoughts are on Phil Jackson, who has more NBA championships than anybody else. But now one of the talks, and once football's over, we're not into baseball yet. The NBA is kind of in full swing with college basketball. But now one of the national sports talk discussions is who might be the greatest individual team athlete of all time. Does Tom Brady make it on the same level as Michael Jordan now with 6 championships, and that the career of Tom Brady spans 18 years from when he won his first to when he has won this one, and he's still going, whereas, Jordan won 6, and he played for, Hall of Fame coach as Belichick is, Phil Jackson, and his championships. Where do you fall on that? You probably haven't even had a chance to think about it, but that is one of the topics that is kind of circulating right now. Is Tom Brady maybe on par with Michael Jordan as one of the great team winners of all time or individual athletes of all time, even though their sports are vastly different?
Yeah, it's unfair really to ask me that question because anything that pertains to Michael Jordan, I'm always say Michael Jordan, and it really doesn't matter what anybody's else argument is to that degree. And I would say this, I always believed if Michael Jordan would have had that venture into baseball, that it probably would have been 8 straight. Yeah.
People forget. I mean, the Houston Rockets won back-to-back titles there, and there was no sign that Jordan was slowing down at all.
Yeah, there's always this running joke that Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler and those guys should thank Michael Jordan for not taking that season away, so those guys, somebody else could win an NBA championship. But obviously, what Tom Brady has done is unbelievable, and I mean, you can talk about eras and things like that, but I don't think there'd get much debate that he's the best quarterback that's ever played. Now, to me, it's always who's the best football player to ever play. I still go back to Jerry Rice. I just think when you look at all the records that he set and compared to this modern day football, I mean, everything they always like, well, he's behind Jerry Rice in this, or he's behind Jerry Rice in that. It's really unbelievable. Now, some of the things that the receiver was doing, it was like, well, he's behind Jerry Rice. He's third on the list all time in catches or touchdowns behind Jerry. It's Jerry Rice with every single thing that happens, whether it be regular season, postseason. So I always think that Jerry Rice is the greatest football player to ever play, but I think that Tom Brady is the best quarterback to ever play football.
So a Super Bowl that was not that pleasing. If you like offense, if you like defense, it was pleasing. And if you're like Joe Hobbs, you are excited because your team, he's got the TB12 Tom Brady jersey on today. It's shocking that he would have Patriots paraphernalia on today.
Yeah, I think the two things to me, everybody gets into the commercials and things like that. The two things that stood out to me beyond football was Gladys Knight singing the national anthem. I mean, for her to be able to sing like that.
How old is she? How old is she?
I think
now?
She's 76.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it was just flawless. Yeah. And so I thought that was unbelievable. I'm a Gladys Knight fan, but, you know, I've heard her actually sing live, and it's just unbelievable. She still has a voice like that at that age. And then the NFL 100 commercial, I just thought that was fantastic.
It was
I mean, I thought that was the best commercial that I saw.
And I think I've seen some commercial ratings, and I think that grades out number one on a lot of the lists this morning.
Yeah, well, you know, me being a football fan, you just get giddy when you see all those former guys there and some of the things that they're doing, and then interacting with the younger guys like Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley. But you see like the reenactment with Franco Harris, you know, with the miracle. I mean, it was just really well thought out and put together. So I thought it hit all age demographics with some of the older fans and some of the newer fans.
And I think maybe the lack of offense. I saw the initial ratings, television ratings, and apparently they're the lowest ratings in 10 years. And it may have been because of the lack of action in the game.
Yeah, well, I think also too. I mean, some people don't want to see the Patriots. They want to see new blood in there. And so when you continue to have the same teams in there sometimes, I think there's always that fatigue that could happen. Some people, you know, complain about Alabama, Clemson, and college football. So you're always going to have a little bit of that fatigue factor as well, too.
Coach Rick Ray joining us, Red Hawks Coaches Show. We're at Wings Etc. in Cape Girardeau. The Red Hawks have a 2-game homestand coming up Thursday against Tennessee Tech, and then Jacksonville State will be in here on Saturday. Before we get into your Nashville trip, I wanted to ask you, I saw this interesting article, and you and I have touched on this topic before, but it is a big thing in college basketball. And this article is an Associated Press article from NBCSports.com and their college basketball page. And the title of it is Mid-Major Fallout, Graduate Transfers Can Hurt the Teams That They Leave. And they cite Albany, the Great Danes, who had an outstanding – they were ranked 5th in the mid-major poll and won the American East Conference title. They had voted the best backcourt in their conference. And all of a sudden, as they're getting ready to come into this year, their senior year, their top 2 guards, and again, voted the best backcourt in the America East Conference, Joe Cremo and David Nichols, the team's top 2 scorers, they're about ready to get their undergraduate degrees, and they both decide they are going to transfer up from Albany. Cremo is the first ever grad transfer in the history of Villanova basketball, the reigning national champs. And then Nichols, who's 22 years old, just became the second ever grad transfer at Florida State, which kind of ties into you because you played the Seminoles in Tallahassee. And basically what the article is saying is it can crush some of these mid-major schools to lose some of their players in the grad transfer status. We're not talking about undergrads. We're talking about grad transfer status moving on to, you know, the bigger programs, whereas they have been tutored for the first 4 years of their career at the mid-major. And you being a mid-major coach, you have coached on the major college level. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you can understand it from an academic standpoint and what the NCAA is trying to do. because you can't say that these guys are student athletes and then a young man has the opportunity where he graduates and he wants to transfer, that you hold him back and make him sit out a year. So you can understand that part of it. But the back part of that is what it does, it ends up being detrimental to the program that they're leaving, because at the mid-major level, in order for you to be good, you have to get old. It's plain. And so if you expect to beat some of these teams at a higher level and to go out and have some success against some of these bigger teams, and then also to have success in your league on a day-in, day-out basis, you have to be a veteran ball club. And so what happens is, in this Albany situation, now you're recruiting, hey, we've got these 2 young men in our program. We'll recruit a couple younger guys that can come in and learn the ropes from these 2 really good backcourt teammates, and then we'll hand over the reins to them. But then all of a sudden now those guys leave, and it completely changes your recruiting efforts, because now you thought you could have these guys that are freshmen and sophomore learn underneath them, but now all of a sudden they're thrust into that situation where they're playing 30 minutes a game. We expect them to play 10 minutes a game. Then it's like late notice, so now you got to shrink, you got a pool that you're trying to recruit from, and it's late. And so now obviously you don't have the same quality student athletes out there that you can go out and recruit, but more importantly, you haven't vetted those guys as much as you would if you had recruited them in the early signing period. So
in other words, you haven't established that relationship that you've had with guys who you've been on all along.
Yeah, it's just a vicious cycle. But I think the one thing that's really come into play with this whole grad transfer rule is that NCAA actually did a study on it, and the whole genesis of this was, if you didn't have a particular master's program at the university that you currently attend, you're saying that, well, I wanted to major in this as my graduate in my master's program, and they don't have it at this university. And so now I want to go to this particular university because they have that major. Well, what they come to find out, they did a study on it. Maybe, I think it was, and don't quote me on this, but I know it was in the teens. I thought it was 16% of the people that actually end up transferring and using that grad transfer reason. Only 16% of those people actually get their master's degree from that degree where they transferred to.
So they're just using it as a vehicle in order to move.
Yes, and I mean, they didn't have to do a study on it for that.
Coaches knew what was going on.
Yeah, we could have told them that without the study and without the finances on that. But it also, it's what is that young man looking for? I mean, because most of these times they go from being a guy who's the guy at their university that's playing 30 to 35 minutes a game, the leading scorer, and then they go to that major program and they end up being a role guy. And I think a lot of these guys have the perception that they're still going to be that guy at that major university.
And, you know, it's not a grad transfer, but Denzel Mahoney is a guy that left your program, all-conference guy, second in the league in scoring last year. And I think, you know, in his mind, he's probably thinking the same thing. And then whether or not that comes to fruition, he's got to sit out at Creighton this year. But whether or not that comes to fruition, we'll just have to find out. But it's a major program.
Yeah, nobody can predict the future and how things are going to turn out, because, you know, if you've had people that you recruited in your program that you thought wasn't going to be a role player, they end up being an outstanding player. Some guy that you kind of question his toughness or his shooting ability ends up being the exact opposite of what you thought. So recruiting, as you know, is an inexact science. I always talk about this when, well, what did you think about this? Why did you make this mistake? And I say, hey, there are NBA and NFL and Major League Baseball franchises that spends millions upon millions in scouting department and vetting they pick out and who they're going to pick. And every single year and every single draft, there's busts. And it's going to continue to be that, because you can't predict the outcome of, like, what's beating inside that person's heart and then their work ethic and how they're going to expose themselves to it. I mean, a lot of guys, they get to college and it's the first time they've been away from home. and that's a huge factor. Some of those guys, they break up with their girlfriend, and they can't deal with that. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different factors that goes into this, and so you just don't know what's going to happen when that young man gets on your campus or when they eventually draft this person. Everybody, hey, this guy's a can't-miss prospect. There's plenty of can't-miss prospects that actually end up missing all the time.
And then there are stories like Antonius Cleveland, who came to this school, and I guarantee you, Dickie Nutt did not think he was going to be a collegiate star, and he certainly didn't think he was going to the NBA. I mean, you could just blow him over when he first came here. He's so thin, but he was athletic, but he couldn't shoot, and very raw, and needed. No one thought that Antonius Cleveland was going to end up playing in the NBA. But, again, there was a guy that did not have a big recruiting base. He wasn't being recruited by a lot of schools. And when SEMO brought him here, they were going to redshirt him. He's not strong enough, and he was good enough that they let him play as a freshman. But I think there are the stories that people really like when you see a guy like Antonius Cleveland, who no one thought he was going to be that type of a player, and all of a sudden he's a pro.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many stories like that where guys work on their individual game and get better. I mean, we just mentioned it, like Jerry Rice. I mean, Jerry Rice is at Mississippi Valley State. I mean, so if Jerry Rice goes down as maybe the best football player ever, definitely the best wide receiver ever, and everybody would say, well, what school did he go to? Did he go to Notre Dame? Did he go to Ohio State? Did he go to USC? No, he went to Mississippi Valley State. So obviously there was a lot of people who missed out on him.
Walter Payton went to Jackson State University.
Exactly. So you have all these situations where, I mean, you got Kawhi Leonard, I mean, that's at San Diego. You have guys like Damian Lillard, who was at Weber State. You have his running mate that went to Lehigh. So you have all the, I mean, Steph Curry, Davidson. So we're wrong, and we're wrong a lot. And so what you got to try to do is you got to spend as much time and effort as you can vetting the situation out. And the same thing is like when I was at Purdue, we had Etwan Moore. And after that first semester of practices and games, we like Etwan Moore, man, I don't know if he can play at this level. Then he goes on and scores 2,000 points in his career at Purdue. So you just don't know until guys actually go through it and you see, like, are they willing to work to get better? Because some people just don't accept their limitations and what those limitations are and then go out and work on them. Some guys like, hey, you're wrong as a coach. I'm telling you what you need to work on, but no, I think I already have that, so I'm not going to believe you. I'm going to continue to do the things I do. It's all about what are they willing to invest in their own individual development in order to get there.
So that's the grad transfer part. The NCAA says about 40%, 4 out of 10 basketball players in men's basketball who enter Division I out of high school depart their initial school by the end of their sophomore year. And of the transfers who remain in Division I, nearly a third are graduate transfers, and that percentage has remained consistent over the past 4 years. But 40% of all players that sign Division I scholarships depart their school by the end of their sophomore year.
Yeah, and it's really disheartening when you think about it because, I mean, my situation is I don't ever want anybody to leave. I mean, we recruited them. I want them to work out. But there's also in the back of your mind, you also have the math that you can't fight. So you know every single year that you're going to have a couple guys come into you and talk to you about leaving because they're disenchanted about something, whether it be their playing time, the way we're utilizing them in our offense, they're homesick. There's going to be something there where somebody comes into your office and talks to you about leaving the program, and you really feel bad about it because, like, hey, I thought we did this with this young man. I thought we recruited him well. I thought we treated him right. I thought we developed him right. I thought we tried to get him a role on our team. But because of that, I mean, 4 out of 10 guys are going to, end up leaving your program. And it's really sad that it ends up happening, but it's also the fact. So you try to make sure that you are providing a first-class experience for that young man both on and off the court as much as you can. But you also know that there's going to be a factor in there that somebody is just not happy with where they are.
We're going to talk more Red Hawk basketball with Coach Rick Ray when we take this time out. Don't forget, still time to join us for lunch. We're at Wings, etc. in Cape Girardeau, and we'll be here until 1 o'clock. Red Hawks Coaches Show on SEMO ESPN. We'll be back to Wings right after this timeout.
Make a sports bar, Wings, etc. in Cape and Jackson beg to differ.
They take their sports bar status seriously.
Wings, etc. is the host of the SEMO Coaches Show every Monday from noon to 1.
You can watch SEMO away games at Wings, etc.
Plus, get lunch specials and daily specials like 69-cent wings on Monday, 69-cent rib tips on Tuesday,
59-cent shrimp on Wednesday,
69-cent wings on Thursday and Friday, too.
Plus, they've got free Wi-Fi and a full-service bar and craft beer.
Wings, etc.
The definition of a sports bar.
My name is Shannon. I had LASIK done by Dr. Parker yesterday. This morning I woke up and saw the alarm clock on the other side of the room for the first time ever. Today, after LASIK, I can see everything. I can see the other side of the doctor's office right now. I can see down the street. I mean, that's what I noticed yesterday. I would just walk outside and look at all the houses that I could never, see before. And this morning, taking the dogs out, just looking around, I can see everything today, and I couldn't see anything yesterday. My experience at Eye Care Specialist was amazing. I mean, I just can't put into words how amazing it is to wake up and see. It's absolutely incredible. Thank you for everything.
See what you've been missing with Eye LASIK from Dr. Sean Parker. Call Eye Care Specialist to schedule your free consultation at 866-DR-LASIK or visit LASIK4me.co. That's LASIK, the number 4, me.co.
Caring for the needs of your special eyes.
It's the River Radio Deals Guy with this week's River Radio Deals half price deal of the week. We're off to Firehouse Subs in Cape Girardeau. We've got a $10 certificate good at Firehouse Subs in Cape Girardeau. It's yours for half price, $5. These won't last long. They go on sale exactly 10 a.m. this Thursday morning online at riverradiodeals.com. That's riverradiodeals.com.
And now, your ESPN Radio Network local weather forecast.
Visibility may be an issue early on with the fog. Careful on the roads. Mostly sunny otherwise. Warm by about 20 degrees. We hit the mid-60s. Clouds build in tonight. Some fog, patchy drizzle, and maybe a stray shower. Overnight low to mid-50s. Early fog for Monday. See clouds and occasional.
And their daily half-pound lunch specials, if you join us today, or any lunch work day, either in the Cape or the Jackson location, their daily half-pound lunch specials start at just $6.99, and their menus include their burgers, wraps, subs, quesadillas, entree salads. They have smoked ribs, and, of course, their award-winning jumbo wings. And on Mondays, they are just 69 cents. They have food and drink specials throughout the week. And at Wings, they're open 7 days a week and late on the weekends when the games run late, like the Super Bowl last night. They had great turnout at both locations in Cape and Jackson, and we certainly invite you to join us here. We've got, obviously, NBA season, college basketball. You can watch it all right here at Wings, etc., and we'll be back in the Cape location next week. Red Hawks head coach Rick Ray is here, and the Red Hawks go to Nashville. Boy, you knew it was going to be tough to go to Belmont and win. The actual numbers are, in the last 54 conference home games, the Belmont Bruins, over the course of 54 conference home games, they are now 51-3. Well, they beat UT Martin on Saturday, so they're now 52-3 conference games in that building over their last 55 games. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, what Rick Byrd has done there at Belmont is like the benchmark of the OVC, even in terms of Murray State, because to me what they do is they have all high school kids that come into their program and matriculate through there. They stay there. Those guys get older, they mature, and they end up being really good basketball players. And they put you in a bind with the fact that they're skilled. And I knew as soon as Dylan Windler was in the starting lineup as the 4-man, I knew that we were in for a hard night there because he's such a good player. And when you put him at that 4 spot, he's almost unguardable because now he can dribble, pass, and shoot, and he's playing against forwards rather than guards. Guards are used to playing against guys like that on a daily basis. Now, Dylan Windler is still going to be a matchup problem even if we played the 3. But you have guys like Ladarius Brewer and Nigel Russell and Skylar Hogan who have a chance of being able to stay in front of him. Our forwards, just because the fact that he's in pick and pop situation now becomes like so hard for us to guard. So that was a huge problem. And then obviously the free throw line disparity that we didn't get to the free throw line and we sent them to the free throw line. You're not going to win very many ball games when it's that big of a disparity at the free throw line.
And for those who don't know the disparity, Belmont on their home floor made 32 free throws. You made 4. So the home team obviously had a huge advantage there, and the guy that was at the line consistently was Kevin McLean. Here's a guy that came in shooting 65% from the free throw line, which is below average for a Division I guard. No guard in Division I should be shooting 65%. But, of course, on Thursday night, he shoots 14 out of 16, which is, not even close to 65%. He finishes with a career-high 31. But once they saw that they were able to, get McLean to the lane and get him to the rim and get him to the free throw line, they kind of adapted what they do, which is shoot a lot of threes. They only made 1 3 in the second half. They totally changed their game plan, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think what Belmont does is they want to penetrate in order to kick out for threes. Everybody knows that once you hit the ball hits the paint, your three-point percentage increases exponentially.
And I don't think the average person knows since 96 when they went Division I, no program in America has hit more three-pointers than Belmont. Duke is number 2.
Yeah.
So no team in the country, not the OVC, in the nation has hit more threes since they went NAIA to Division I.
Yeah, and Rick Byrd does a great job. I mean, he doesn't recruit anybody that can't shoot. I mean, he wants high IQ guys, and he wants guys that can shoot the basketball. Those are the 2 things that he covers and he looks for. So, I mean, what they want to do. Is just a priority. Can you stop it?
And you all of a sudden see they've got this freshman now named Nick Mazinski, and he was almost unstoppable. Now he's 6 feet 11 inches tall, 27 points, 6 boards. He leads the league in blocking shots. Freshman. Going to have to see him for 4 years. They always have those great shooters, and then that one guy that can finish around the basket a big.
Yeah, and once again, you have to make a decision. Are you going to allow him to go one-on-one? And so there's 2 things that's probably going to happen is he shoots 65% from the field, so he's probably going to make it. And then second of all, you're probably going to foul out all your front court guys because trying to guard him one-on-one. But then he's such a good passer. He can see over the top of you. And I thought once we did start to trap him, I thought they got this whole halo deal now where you got to supposedly give a guy space. But, like, when he pivots, I mean, it's a foul on you as well, too. So we were trying to trap there, and we kept fouling on the trap because I thought the guys did a great job of arriving the basketball. But the other thing about that young man that I really like, he's got a nasty disposition. He's got the right temperament to be a guy that can play physical basketball and block shots and rebound the ball and score in the paint. So a lot of guys that have that body, that length, don't have that disposition. He has a great disposition to go out and hey, I'm going to score, I'm going to rebound, I'm going to block your shot.
If I told you before the game you would hit 11 threes and Belmont would only hit 7, you'd say, hey, we got a chance maybe to win this game.
Yeah. Well, if you would have showed me the free throw line disparity,
right,
I would have said no way.
Yeah, and the thing is, you really limited your turnovers in this game. I mean, you'd like to have less than 15 turnovers, but that's not an egregious night turning the basketball over.
Yeah, the only thing with that, though, is Belmont doesn't pressure you. If you limited 15 turnovers against a team that presses, then EKU right, presses you. And so if you limit your turnovers to 15, you're a little bit walking away. Okay, I can understand that. But Belmont doesn't pressure you at all. So I thought a lot of those were unforced turnovers on our end. So you like it to be 12 or 11, but I definitely thought we should have been at 12 or 11 because they didn't really pressure you.
Ladarius Brewer, 6 3-pointers in that game. Boy, he can really find a zone at times, can't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys now, I would say, So he's going to be 6 of 8 one night. The next night he might be 2 of 8. Then the next night he might be 4 of 8. Then the next night he might be 2 of 8. Then he'll go again. He'll get hot again, go 6 of 8. The 8 is not changing. You know,
Right.
the attempts is not changing, so you just hope that they're quality shots.
And Alex Caldwell returning to the lineup. First of all, how much of an adjustment was it playing without Alex for a couple of games? And then he returns to the lineup and looked pretty good against Belmont, 16 points.
Well, it's hard because he's your second-best ball handler. And not only is he your second-best ball handler, he's probably the best of our guys of attacking. J.D. Jonathan Dalton can get into the paint, but he's really not a finisher in the paint. He's more of a passer once he gets there. Well, I think Alex Caldwell is both. He's a guy that can get to the paint and finish, but he also can find people too. So besides Ladarius Brewer, as far as a guy getting into the paint and making plays, it's really hard because you lose your second-best ball handler and you probably lose your second-best guy getting around the rim and finishing.
After the Eastern Kentucky game, Skylar Hogan took over the scoring lead on the team from Ladarius Brewer. Now Brewer is again the team's leading scorer. Skylar Hogan, 1 of 6 in the Belmont game, 1 of 6 in the Tennessee State game. And, he had that great game against Eastern Kentucky where he scored 20 points. He didn't hit a three-pointer, 20 points, and he went 10 of 13 from the free throw line. And right now it seems like nothing's really fallen for him. What are you seeing with Skylar? Because, when your second leading scorer is averaging 1 field goal per game, but puts a lot of pressure on other guys to kind of step up what they normally don't do in terms of offense, right?
Yeah, I thought he was kind of the same way against Eastern Illinois. His stat line wasn't great, but I thought he did an unbelievable job for us defensively. So I think what we've got to do is we've got to get some opportunities for Skylar. We run some set plays for him. But I also told him this is life in a league. This is life in the conference where now the scouting report is out on you. And so what you've got to do is you've got to figure out another way to – don't be surprised. He's like, well, I'm not open. Yeah, they got coaches too, and they got film. and so they know that you're a guy that can shoot the basketball, so they're going to try to run you off the three-point line. So now what we got to do is we got to figure out when's the opportunities for you to take those threes and when's the opportunities for you to drive off of people's closeout because they're trying to run you off the three-point line.
And the thing is, he's got a frame and is athletic enough and strong enough to get in there and finish or get to the line, and he's an excellent free throw shooter.
Yeah, and it starts to play into you, fatigue, confidence, all of those things end up being a factor. So what I was most proud of against Eastern Illinois when things weren't going his way on the offensive end, he really did a great job in the second half of Gordon Wallace, who had scored 15 points in that first half, and he held him to 6 points in that second half. So I was really proud of the fact that he didn't live through his offense, and he did a great job of helping us defensively, and that's what led to us getting that win.
How good is Belmont? Because they scored 97 against you. They're the highest scoring team in the league. And then they went out and scored 100 2 nights later against UT Martin.
Yeah, well, they're really good. And what makes them so hard to guard is they keep things simple. They're not very complicated. So they don't run a lot of sets, but what they do is they figure out a way to where your weakness is on your defensive end, and they try to exploit that. And I thought at the beginning we did a really good job of making sure, hey, this is our ball screen coverage and this is what we want to do. And we were prepared for Wendler to play some forward, but we wasn't prepared for him to play forward the whole game. So you knew it was going to be at the point in time or he was going to be from 15 to 18 minutes and he was going to be at that 4 spot, and your ball screen coverage has to be different because of the dynamic he brings to that position.
So then the Tennessee State game, you just got off to such a slow start. I think you had a stretch there where it was over 11 minutes without a field goal. I think you had a free throw or 2 mixed in there. But, man, when you go that long without a field goal, then it's catch-up mode, right?
Yeah, and I just thought against Tennessee State we weren't in the right mindset. We didn't come out and compete. And I thought we told our guys and showed them time and time again, Tennessee State's best attribute that they have is not their scoring, it's not their passing, it's not this particular thing. It was them playing hard. I mean, they play hard and they compete. And so I said, you have to go out there ready to go out and match that intensity, because if you don't, I said, they're going to win the game. And I just thought from the very beginning, our guys were shocked by their pace of play because of how hard they played, even though we had told them this and showed them that. And so now it comes back from a factor of like, hey, we're trying to figure it out, and it's too late. And then the other part of it is we couldn't guard them individually. You could hear their coaching staff every single time they got a favorable matchup, they just clear it out and go breakdown. And so, hey, we think your guy can't guard our guy, so we're going to penetrate and make a play until you either stop us or now we have to kick the ball out and another guy makes a play. So individually, we just weren't very good defensively in that game.
And the guy that really had the big game was Emmanuel Egbuka. I think he's like a 8-point-a-game guy, but 19 points, 6 rebounds, and he was a tough matchup in that game.
Yeah, and he really drove our forwards. The guys we play at the forward spots, we had a hard time matching up against him because he would make plays not just for himself but also for others, but they got him in a spread-out situation, and then he would take our guys one-on-one, and we eventually had to help because he was having some success. And once he started to have some success, we started to help, and he started to make the right passes.
And then their point guard, Michael Littlejohn, and he is a little guy. I think like 79% of his field goals were threes, but all 5 of his field goals in that game were threes. You kind of see what he had on his mind. He was a guy kind of waiting, and once dribble penetration happened, he was the kick-out guy.
Yeah, and he's the guy who plays with the ball screen the most on their team, and we told him you have to stay up into him because he's a guy that wants to shoot the three. He's one of those guys that hezzo dribble, and just trying to create space so he can get his three-point shot off.
And the other guy, Fitzpatrick Dorsey, now he left the game with some sort of an injury. He's their leading scorer. They bring him off the bench. 14 points per game. I don't know how severe the injury was, but he actually ended up going to the locker room.
Yeah, I didn't see exactly what happened there, but he's a guy that's a transfer from Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That's a really good player, and it's kind of a weird dynamic because he's their leading scorer, but he comes off the bench. But we knew when he came in, I said, hey, this is a guy, even though he's coming off the bench, you got to respect because he's their leading scorer.
So you've got Tennessee Tech coming up on Thursday, and we're guessing it's 7:45 is about the time that the game will get underway. But Tech right now this season, offense has been a struggle for them. They're averaging just under 70 points per basketball game. So right now, Tennessee Tech trying to get its offense consistent. So that's the team you'll be dealing with Thursday.
Yeah, but I think they're the exact opposite defensively. I've had a chance to watch them here over the weekend, and what they do is they really, really guard you, and they make it hard for you on defensive end. But they've had their struggles on the offensive end, and I think they're really similar to us as far as like them being young and inexperienced, and so some of that plays off on the offensive end. But Coach Payne hasn't really playing hard on the defensive end and making some plays.
So Clay is their best scorer, I guess, at 14 points per game. What do you see with him?
Well, he's a guy, to me, that scores in a variety amount of ways. He's not just a one-dimensional basketball player, and I think those guys are always really difficult to play against. But he uses his big, strong body around the basket and his ability to be able to finish around there. They run some plays where they isolate him in the post, but he's a big-time athlete as well, too.
Micaiah Henry is the guy that leads them in field goal percentage, Coach, 63%. What are you seeing there?
Well, he's a guy that's a finisher. They do a lot of penetration and kick, and he's always down in that baseline area where he's catching the ball and going up and finishing. And if you look at tape, a lot of those are dunks. So you can't help up. And so you're always in a situation as far as at forward, do I go help? And so because my guy is beaten, he might get a layup. But if I go help, then they might dump down to this guy right here, and he does a great job of getting offensive rebounds off the penetration.
Since Ray Harper took over at Jacksonville State, they'll be in here on Saturday. I'm not sure consistently that anyone is better in terms of scoring defense. I mean, they're right there. They're there again this year. 67 points per game. That's all they're giving up. And they're averaging 77, so they're scoring 10 more than they're giving up. Why are they so good on defense?
Well, I think the first thing is their personnel. They always going to have like long physical athletes on the back line. They're going to challenge you at the rim. They're not giving up anything around the basket, and then they go out and recruit some guys who can individually guard you. So they got a kind of the best of both worlds where they kind of get up into you and make you make individual plays. But once you make that individual play past the perimeter, there's always going to be long athletes at the rim able to come over and affect your shot.
Right now, it is the 4 teams that everyone thought were going to be at the top in the preseason coaches and sports information directors poll, and that is Murray State, Belmont, Austin Peay, Jacksonville State. Those were the top 4 picks, and those teams have separated themselves from the next group of 8 with the 12-team conference. All 4 of those teams are 8-2, and is it a fair statement that any of those 4 could win the championship?
Yeah, I really believe so, and I think some people are surprised. I think Jacksonville State has already swept Belmont.
Yeah, 2 years in a row.
Yeah, so I mean maybe that's their bugaboo or what have you.
Like I said, they're 52-3 in their last 55 home games. 2 of those 3 losses were to Jacksonville State.
Yeah, so Jacksonville State is obviously, but then Belmont goes and wins at Murray State.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it just goes to show you that you don't know what's going to happen there at the top of it. It's a toss-up, but it'll be played out. But all 4 of those teams are deserving.
How do you match up and challenge Jacksonville?
Well, the first thing is it's what we talked about against Tennessee State. You have no chance unless you're going to go up and make – hey, physically you have to meet the challenge. And demanding part of it is, hey, you have to make sure you're playing as hard as they're playing and flying around as much as they are. Because if you're not, you don't have a chance. And so that to me is the most important thing, is that you go out there and you physically stand up to the way they play. And they're going to be a physical brand. You're not going to get fouls. They're going to always be over there with wall-ups. And you have to understand, like, they're going to get into your grill and they're going to make you make plays, but now you can't make those plays out of control.
So is it a positive for you that you just played a team like Tennessee State with Jacksonville coming in so quickly behind, where you can say, hey, this is what we told you was going to happen with Tennessee State. They ate your lunch. Here's another team that wants to eat as well.
Well, it's not a good experience. Excuse me. It doesn't help you if guys don't learn from the experience.
Gotcha.
Plain and simple. I mean, we gave them the information beforehand. It's like these millennials. They have to go out and fail first before they believe you. So now they've had a failing experience against Tennessee State, and we've told them what it's going to be like and say, hey, it's going to be like this versus Jacksonville State, but Jacksonville State is actually a better basketball club. So they have to understand, did they learn from the experience or did they not?
Jason Burnell leads Jacksonville 15 points per game. Tell us about Burnell.
Well, he's a guy that we actually recruited. He was down in Florida, and his dad was a long-time junior college coach in the state of Florida, and I actually recruited some of his kids when I was over at Clemson. So I know his dad really well. His son is a guy that really knows how to play basketball. He's kind of an old school, old soul type of a guy. He's not an explosive athlete all around the rim, can jump up and things like that. He's kind of got an old man's wide game where he can like put you on his back and spin and make plays. He can create space to get a shot off. He really knows how to pass the basketball. So he's that skilled forward that everybody is looking for, that can make threes, but more importantly can make the right passes from the perimeter, but is also tough enough to score on you in the post and get you defensive rebounds and play post defense on the other end.
I'm sure there were some people that remember this, but the day or maybe a couple of days after Jacksonville State hired Ray Harper, I remember you said they will win now.
Yeah.
I mean, because they have not won in men's basketball. They just have not won in the entire time they've been in the Ohio Valley Conference. They've always been near the bottom. And when you saw that Ray Harper was hired, you said they will win.
Yeah, Ray,
they are winning.
Yeah, Ray Harper's done it at every level. I mean, and it's funny to me. I think that first year there, we were having a meeting about scouting, and one of the assistants said, "Hey, let's do this," and kind of throw it at him. It'll throw him off base. I said, Ray Harper. I said, we're not throwing that dude off base. He's seen everything. He's won at every level. So I said, don't worry about that. We need to worry about what we're doing and then go from there. But he's a tremendous coach. He knows how to build programs. Every place he's ever done, he's turned it around, and they've won consistently.
So I pulled this up. I want to get your thoughts on this because I know you're a college basketball guy. It's not just that you are pretty skilled in terms of knowing some of the best players in the country. Zion Williamson is probably the most talked about player in the country. I don't know if he's the best player. He seems to have a ton, freaky athleticism for a guy who's 6'7", 280. But with Duke, Zion Williamson, I'm looking at the 2019 NBA mock draft, NBAdraft.net. Zion Williamson projected to go number 1 to the Knicks if the Knicks get the number 1 pick. But your thoughts on a guy like Zion Williamson? You've been around the game a long time. Have you seen a guy with his frame at 280 pounds that can athletically do what he can do?
Yeah, I think one thing people talk about, and you got to be clear about this, he's the most unique basketball player I've ever seen. As far as a guy that's big and strong, but yet is that athletic. I mean, so
his head was above the rim the other day when he threw a ball down against St. John's.
Right. So, and to me, it's all going to boil down to two things for him: is how does he take care of his body once he gets to the NBA? Because a guy that big can get bigger.
Sean Kemp.
Yes, or Charles Barkley, or however you want to say those bodies goes. What was the guy that played for the Milwaukee Bucks that ended up eating himself? Vin Baker.
Vin Baker, yeah.
Vin Baker's a guy. Robert Tractor Trailer.
Yeah.
Guys like that. Are they going to have good weight? Are they going to be disciplined enough to make sure they keep their weight at the right level? Because now, instead of playing 30 games, they're playing 82 games. And so now it's 285 pounds at your height. Is that a good thing for your body, and is it going to hold up over 82 games over a long period of time? And guys always tell me in the NBA, you're one of three things to be able to play 82 games, because no one should ever be able to play 82 games. It's way too much on your body. So you're either one of these three things. Either you're a freak athlete, you're LeBron James, you're Michael Jordan, you're Russell Westbrook, okay? Or you're a guy that's like just a tough SOB, Larry Bird, Or you're one of these guys, the third category is you just do a tremendous job of taking care of your body. Your Steve Nashes, your Dirk Nowinskis, those type of guys. So one of those three things in order to play that. So is he the type of guy that's going to be able to hold up? And then obviously the next part is shooting ability. He's not a guy that you would ever say is going to make a jump shot.
Number 2, according to NBAdraft.net, Ja Morant out of Murray State. Do you think does he look like a guy who could impact a team in the NBA?
Yeah, he's a guy that's definitely going to be a lottery pick. I think R.J. Barrett, just because of his size.
He's projected to go number 3, by the way.
He would be my number 1 guy, because I think he has some James Harden to him where, like, you really can't stop him because he's a left-handed guy. He's a big, strong body. He obviously can't shoot it the way that James Harden can shoot it at this point in time, but James Harden couldn't shoot like that when he was at Arizona State either. So I think he's the type of guy that can grow into that, because in the open court, and then when you're trying to guard him one-on-one, you either have to foul him or you have to let him get that paint touch because he's that physically strong. Ja Morant is a guy that obviously the thing that he's going to have to improve are two things. He's going to have to get bigger and stronger in order to hold up in the NBA, and that'll come with time. And then the other thing that you'll hope will come with time is his ability to make shots, because right now, if you're going to give him something, you would much rather have him taking a jump shot than getting into the paint and making plays, because he's proven that he can finish around the rim with all his athleticism, but he's also an excellent passer.
So you've got 2 of the top 3 picks from Duke with Williamson and R.J. Barrett, as we mentioned. And then Rui Hachimura from Gonzaga picked to go 4 to the Chicago Bulls. What do you think of his game?
I love him. I think he's a guy that just knows how to play basketball. And I believe he's 6'11", maybe. 6'10" at least. I think he's a guy that at that height has a lot of skill level. He kind of reminds me of kind of a Karl Anthony Towns, where he's not that big-time athlete, but he's a guy that can do a whole bunch of different things at that size.
All right. We have come to the end here. Tennessee Tech will be in town. The women will play at 5:15, men around 7:45, and the game plan going in against Tennessee Tech here to pick up a conference win on Thursday.
Well, for us, it's all about I'm not really, and I don't mean this as a slight to Tennessee Tech, I'm really not worried about Tennessee Tech at all. We've got to make sure that we fix our own problems and then we come out and be competitive. And that to me is the most disappointing thing, is we've got to have some inner toughness. We've got to have some intrinsic motivation and want to go out and compete. Not just against another team, but individually. Hey, I'm going to be able to guard you without any help. I'm going to be able to rebound without any help. I'm going to be able to play post defense without any help. And then we can worry about Tennessee Tech, because at the end of the day, it's always, can I guard without fouling?
Tennessee Tech on Thursday and the Jacksonville State Gamecocks Saturday. We'll see you at the Show Me Center, Coach. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.
Coach Rick Ray, and that is going to do it here for the Red Hawks Coaches Show. Thanks so much for joining us. We've got the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio straight ahead. And don't forget, Monday specials at Wings, etc. Their award-winning jumbo wings, just 69 cents. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. So long from Wings.
Missouri's ESPN Radio Sports Network, 1220 KGIR, Cape Girardeau, and 1470 KMAL, Malden.
National Television Airways of ESPN News.